All right, welcome everybody to another in Potter's series of partner webinars. Today we have Macurco Gas Detection and brand doing presenting on any number of applications and products. So some very interesting stuff. Without any further ado, I'll go ahead and hand it over to Brandon.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate the opportunity. And my name is Brandon with Macurco Gas Detection, recently acquired by Dwyer Omega. We'll jump into that here shortly, but a couple hot topics today. We'll talk battery storage. We'll talk UL 2075, servicing and commissioning of gas detection systems. Those will be the main topics we really go over today. But I'll start off to give you a slight overview on what Macurco is today. As of October 2025, we were acquired by a company called Dwyer Omega. The company is big into measurements of basically everything. So anything from pressure, force, temp, flow, level, gas, humidity. Dwyer Omega has it. There's over 700,000 SKUs to look at, so there's quite a bit of an array of product lines. But in any event, gas is what Macurco is known for, and that's the arsenal that they brought in to fit that gap. So as we progress into the conversation, as your customer base sees fit, if they come across anything for temp, humidity, flow, level, pressure, force, please feel free to reach out. We have most likely are going to have the product or something to outfit or help along the way as well. So the companies that are involved in this, just to give you an idea of the brands, you've got Dwyer Omega. They're the two motherships joined into one now, and you'll see everybody else that's involved there, from Macurco down there on the bottom right to Retronic, Dynamite Sensors, Senso Scientific, FCI, Michelle, Miljoco, Weiss, ACI. All are pretty big measurement companies, whether it comes across as one of those key categories of flow, temp, humidity, and so forth. So you'll see Macurco as a Dwyer Omega brand moving forward. And what that looks like as a whole is this. So the Macurco brand is comprised of really three different entities. If you've heard me do a training before, these are pretty much the staples. They've been around for a little while now, and this is pretty much the agenda for today. So we'll go over who Macurco is, just kind of give you an overview of who had acquired us back then in October. So we'll go over the families. We'll go over UL 2075. That's probably one of the most talked about questions we get within the Macurco office here. Hit on two key applications, most relevant and most talked about applications at this point: battery storage, whether that's data centers or the battery energy storage market. And then we'll also do vehicle exhaust. Vehicle exhaust is just a national standard that everybody's seen, whether it's a parking garage, a car dealership, maintenance bay, etc. So, and then we'll tie that all back together with the system options. And the systems are actually the same. They're just different gas types, and they function in a very similar manner. I'll show you a couple options there. And then we'll get into the big part of the fire and life safety industry, which is the service. And that service encompasses commissioning and calibrations on an annual basis at a minimum. We'll kind of teach a brief overview of that and offer up any training opportunities out there that may see fit. Within those training opportunities come certificates, so that your AHJ inspector, your fire marshal are aware of the accreditation to the Macurco line. And then just the overview of kind of the Macurco intangibles, and then we'll leave it open for questions. So basically what we're going to look at today is this list of criteria you see in front of you. So Macurco resides in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. That's where we're headquartered. That's where I'm sitting right now. Manufactures everything out of this office. Most of our products are BAA and BABAA compliant. We have those documents readily available if you're interested in needing them for an on-site to get a COO or anything of that nature. So that little star right there, basically we border Minnesota, Iowa, Nebraska, and that's where we sit today. So here are the three brands from left to right. If you're familiar with Macurco, hopefully this adds a little nugget to your arsenal and gives you a little bit more play in the gas detection space. But from the left to right, you got AIM Safety, which is a portable gas detection solution. It is meant to be OSHA compliant for a confined space. You can go single gas options to multi-gas options. Those single gas, I think there's 7 or 8 different flavors. And then the multi-gas, you have what's called a PM400, which is a 4-gas option, or a PM500, that's a 5-gas option. And then you slide to the right, and you've got Macurco Building and Home Solutions. This is the bread and butter of Macurco's business. This is a fixed solution for monitoring and installation of a life safety system. Most everything you see in the Macurco commercial side is legislated. So from mixed use applications all the way up to vehicle exhaust to data centers. If it's a non-classified space, you're going to fall into that middle section there. And what I mean by non-classified is what you see on the right, and that's called Track XP. So a classified product is a C1D1 or C1D2 product. That's one of the first questions that'll get asked. If you guys ever turn in a project and ask for help, it's the first question we will ask is this a classified product or a classified space, which determines your product line. Within those two elements, from Macurco Building and Home to Track XP, you're looking at over 100 different sensor options from combustibles, refrigerants, and toxics. So there's a wide variety here. We're going to really hone in on a couple different areas here in a minute, but to give you a brief overview of what those product lines look like, you'll look at this right here. So we start with mixed use from homes, apartments, hotels, any occupied space, really. These are meant to be tied into fire alarm panels. So you have independent CO detectors with end of life signals. You'll see a lot of these going into high-end homes in your hotel rooms and things of that nature. And as you slide right, you get more into the combustible side. And that's a methane and propane type detector, which is also meant to be hardwired into a fire alarm security panel. In fact, UL 2075, all these are appropriate to that. And they also follow the legislation of 2034 and 1484 for these spaces. So if you're looking for legislation and you're looking for compliance, we can get there pretty much with any one of these devices in an occupied space. Then we jump to the commercial stuff, and this is the main bloodline of Macurco. We call it the 6 and 12 series. It's a low voltage or line voltage option. The gas types on the left there, we just reference those as flavors. So you have CO and NO2 in one. Then you have NO2 separate. Probably the hottest topic right now is combustible gas, and that's methane, propane, and hydrogen. A lot of the standards and legislation pieces that are of last year, they all reference some type of a combustible gas. There's just a lot of code movement within that combustible gas for old infrastructures and data centers as well. So then you go down to asphyxiants like an oxygen gas, or you can even go down to carbon dioxide, which is also considered an asphyxiant. But the product line is pretty self-sufficient. It's a controller itself, so you can use these standalone. You can tie them into systems, and you can bypass our systems going directly into like a BMS or a fire panel and so forth. So that's the footprint of the commercial side. And then Track XP is very much the same. It's just industrial. It's class 1 div 1, class 1 div 2. There is a lot of components to these, so they're built a la carte for the most part. And again, that question at the very beginning of our interaction is going to be, is it a classified space or not? And that'll determine whether we go between the commercial and the industrial product line. As we move forward, we're going to jump right into it. We are very, very good on our collateral. Our collateral's approach is really just about education. We come to the market with the willingness to teach and educate along codes, and you'll see that on our website. So if you were to go to macurco.com, on the top there, you're going to see something called applications. Just click it. It brings you to this page. And then within each individual page itself, you have an independent guide. Today, we're going to be talking about vehicle exhaust and energy storage systems. If you were to click boiler room, you're going to get the same effect. It's just going to have a little bit different wording and legislation behind it. So there's a lot of applications here. I think there's like 3 times more applications listed on the page. I highly suggest to go to it. It's really educational. Just teaches a lot about gas detection in different spaces. At the end of the day, gas detection, it's going to be about the same in every application. You just got to kind of understand the code. So as we move forward, this is where kind of the rubber hits the road for us. UL 2075. UL 2075 has come a very long way since my first days at Macurco in 2014. A lot of the UL 2075 standards encompass the commercial segment of the product lines now, not just what you see in your house or what you can buy at Home Depot, but a lot of it is driven off of these systems. And so what I want to stress is Macurco is one of one right now in terms of a manufacturer in the gas detection space to have a CO and NO2 and an LEL detector listed to UL 2075. And I say that because we're one of one in those 3 categories. Now, if you break it down and say, hey, I need a CO NO2 detector, we're one of a couple. The LEL sensor, the GD6, We're one of a couple, but to have all three of those in one family and all listed on the UL 2075 via ETL is pretty impressive. It's a time-consuming and very costly listing, but we're very proud of getting these in the standards. And you'll see here in a couple slides, we actually have another product coming out with the same listing for hydrogen. So we'll show you that here in a little bit. But just stress, if you guys got questions in legislation or compliance, pretty comfortable with the Macurco brand. If you got a certain situation, give us a shout. We can kind of help you walk through some things. But the one thing to stress as we move forward into this collateral, we have an entire website full of collateral. And if you don't know where to find it, that's fine. We can help you. But we are so stringent upon this UL 2075. So just to kind of show you, and the next slide, I'm going to show you the importance of compliance, the IMC 2021 map. You'll understand what these two mean here in a couple slides. But then you also have the actual certificates with the product nomenclature showing the UL 2075 certifications. Why that is important is what you're about to see. So for our products, I'm just going to use the actual product nomenclature, which is a CX6, a CM6, and a GD6. So all part of that 6 series family. CX6 is CO and NO2, the CM6 is CO, and the GD6 is LELs. LEL is lower explosive limit or combustible gases. So let's just take a look at what's on this page here. If you were to look at the right side and follow that arrow, so we'll kind of start backwards here. The biggest understanding is to make sure you understand the difference between a UL listed, a UL recognized, and UL approved product. If you cannot find a cert with a part number of the product you're looking at with UL certs on it, it's not UL certified. So what I mean by that is if we go back one slide and you don't have an actual document with the parts and nomenclature, it's not fully listed to that part or to that header for UL. So UL 2075, you're going to see this a lot, and it's a very creative marketing tool that a lot of companies access and recognize. But being UL recognized is not listed. Recognized means you have a component within your device that is recognized. We see this one a lot. And I'm just going to give you one case. I won't name manufacturers, but there was a $50,000 gas detection system in Arizona last year that was fully implemented and up and running, and it got ripped out. It got ripped out because it was not UL certified to 2075. They needed both CO and NO2, which this one was not. And they called us to, get this installed as quickly as possible. These are things that are happening all over the country. Minnesota, the state of Minnesota, did not allow anything that was not listed UL 2075 last year for CO and NO2. Florida's of the same nature. Like these, it's spreading like wildfire for us. We're learning a lot. But you just need to have that cert. UL 2075 is extremely, extremely important. If you took away anything from today, this would be the one thing to take. This will get you off a job site, no questions asked. The COO is there and all the material you need to finish your job and get moving on to the next. So this is the Bible for gas detection, UL 2075. This is super, super important. If you guys have questions in your territories or your jurisdictions, feel free to call us. We'll do our best to either A, find the answer if we don't know it, or give you the general consensus of that territory as well. Okay. So as we dive further, both the applications we're talking about today, UL 2075 reigns supreme, and especially in this one, battery charging. I do want to stress there's a big difference between lead acid and lithium ion, which a lot of people know already today. The one key factor of it, though, when it comes to gas detection, it's actually very, very similar. The output of hydrogen during a release, whatever process is happening, whether it's lead acid process or the lithium ion breakdown, it's still off-gassing hydrogen. And so hydrogen works well in this space for sure. What's being asked today is a UL 2075 listed device in any data center, in any battery energy storage container, both of which are the number 1 and 2 applications on the rise for Macurco throughout all of our SKUs. If you just look at the GD6, it's the number 1 SKU that we have right now, just due to data centers and battery energy storage. So within these spaces, you'll see a little bit of similarities when it comes to lead acid or lithium ion. But here's where we are really progressing. And so today, that product on the top is called the GD6. That product right now is UL 2035 approved for methane. That was the only approval at the time for a combustible gas, and you'll see that on the bottom down here. The kicker here is we've really been researching and doing some development of our own battery energy storage data center product. It's really focused specifically around that industry. You'll see it here. The main difference is going to be called an HD6. The H stands for hydrogen. We are extremely excited about this release. It is, I mean, several weeks away at worst, but we are in the approval stage of that UL 2075 certificate as well, with a sensor that's already been approved for UL 2075. So we're not seeing any hiccups in the long term. It just takes a little bit of time for the testing. But this product right here, the HD6, is literally designed around the application of battery energy storage containers or data centers. They both work in the same capacity for our side of the coin. So we're beyond thrilled. I know we've moved into a really strong position in the battery energy storage market. We are starting to pick up some serious momentum in the data center market with just some outlandishly large projects. We're actually attending another conference in Vegas here in a few weeks, just specifically with data center engineers and owners. So this is the main topic. They called us for this product. So we're really excited about it. Couldn't be happier with the outcome of the GD6, but we did want to improve on that footprint with the HD6, and here's where it differs. So a couple of the things with the GD6 that people are frustrated with is the calibration interval. Again, a sensor in this type of element or this type of application, it still needs a little bit of TLC. And what that means for us is, from a liability standpoint, we really wanted to focus on about an annual service agreement, meaning or a calibration. What is heading down the line with this HD6, and there was a long time invested in this, a lot of money, is looking for a sensor that wasn't necessarily going to have that need for a calibration every year. That's the HD6. We've implemented a sensor within this product that you don't need to calibrate it as often, if at all. In fact, in our literature, we say it's not required, and we're a life safety company, so that's a big deal. So we're pretty confident in the sensor. The other part of this is it's a 10-year life. So you're getting a long-term sensor, basically double the life, with less maintenance, if you will, for roughly a little bit more than what you would do the G6. It's nothing crazy, 50 or 60 bucks more, but that's about it. Then when you're looking at implementing 1,500 of these in a data center, it adds up pretty quickly. So we're looking pretty strong here for this market, but we're extremely excited about the launch of the HD6. And again, that should be several weeks away. We just kind of waiting for this UL 2075 to get the finalized stamp of approval, and we can move forward. So what that looks like in the application is very simple. We have an energy storage guide down on the application page, which I showed you guys earlier. It breaks down all the gas types. It breaks down what can be seen within a data center or a BESS container. The second part to that, though, is lead acid and lithium ion act so differently that lithium ion produces and off gases so many different types of gas. It breaks that down for you as well in this guide. It shows you different compounds. Now, it's not the guide isn't all inclusive. It's an example. And so we've picked two real manufacturers of batteries and said, okay, this is their off gassing. And it breaks it down to give you an idea. But like carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, and combustible gas, well, they all are very intertwined within these lithium ion batteries at the time of thermal runaway. Our job is to catch hydrogen at its peak as fast as possible and relay that information elsewhere. If you guys have data centers, if you have BESS containers that we were saying, or maybe you're even servicing a BES container, because we're getting a lot of those calls now, give us a call. We'll walk you through kind of the idea and the concept behind it if you guys have questions on the status of the sensor. But within that same application guide, you're going to get a breakdown. And what I want you to pay attention to is hydrogen is the main runner. You'll see that here on the bottom under combustible gases, but you're also going to see carbon monoxide. We are seeing a big push in CO within these spaces as well. So now you throw it all back to a big system, whether that's a BMS, a fire panel, a Macurco gas detection panel, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, we're looking for a big system out of these data centers and the BESS containers. I mean, you're looking at 1 or 2 sensors per container, and there are tens of thousands of these out there. So a big push there in that battery storage space. But I will kind of open it up. James, if there are any questions or anything, go ahead and we can revert back, or I can keep going.
We currently do not have anything in the chat box, so go ahead and keep on going, sir.
You got it. The next one is probably the one that we're best known for. This has been our bread and butter for 20 plus years, which is vehicle exhaust. And the vehicle exhaust encompasses more than just your standard parking garage. A lot of multifamily has parking garages below, or those infrastructures that just aren't spending as much money on the land. They're building vertically. So you're seeing a lot of the garages go below. This encompasses car dealerships. This encompasses USPS, FedEx, and Amazon's, firehouse bays. Just a lot of different applications here, but it all ties back to the same concept. If a vehicle can enter a space that's enclosed, you need to look at one of these systems. And why this is important, and I'm going to fast forward, I think, 2 slides here. So the code says this, and this is based on the International Mechanical Code, which IFC has adopted, the International Fire Code has adopted. NFPA 72 has taken pieces of this and have used it in their methodology as well. But the concept is this. If you choose not to run your ventilation system within these facilities all the time, it's due to installing a gas detection system. So long story short, it's very expensive to run your fans and exhaust systems, which are very, very large, all the time, 24/7. So you implement one of these, and now you're running at 10% or 20% of your capacity within these systems. You're saving a lot of money on the back end, and you're saving a lot of energy at that point too. But basically what it says is the only way to shut your fan down or your ventilation down is via one of these systems. In some of these states, they do require this to go back to the fire alarm panel. That's why our footprint in fire is so big. The one question that a lot of people are asking is, do I need CO and NO2 or just CO? The answer is on this slide, and we can help you if you have a specific territory that you're in. But if you were to take California or Arizona, Arizona has fully adopted into IMC 2021, and they are looking for CO and NO2. That was part of that story that I was telling you about earlier about the system getting ripped out and Macurco coming in and getting installed. They're looking for CO NO2 with the UL 2075 listing. California has adopted 2021 of IMC, but they're going to implement CO first and the NO2 soon. Engineers are already specifying CO NO2, and it does have to have that UL 2075. So like states are catching up. I think we're about 20 states in with IMC 2021 fully abore, and NO2, CO both listed to UL 2075. But at the end of the day, some states are still CO only. I think Illinois is that state. I think Texas might be that state too. But at the end of the day, call us. We'll help you out and understand better for your territory. And what that means for Macurco is pretty straightforward. We came out with a product called the CX6. The CX6 is a combo CO and NO2 sensor. The entire product is UL 2075 VETO. So you'll have that cert on there. Again, you're going to keep hearing that all the time. But it's 2-in-1. You got 2 sensors in one. It's reading 2 different gases. It's giving you 2 different signals, whether you want to focus on the CO or the NO2. And you can send that back to a fire panel. You can send it back to a Macurco panel or a BMS system, no problem. You have a 4 to 5 year life on this with field replaceable sensors. So big on the service side for calibration and testing. The concept behind this is just a more efficient install. So instead of installing 2 different devices, which a lot of people still offer those type of products where you have CO at breathing level and NO2 up at the ceiling. This is a one-stop shop. It's 2 sensors in one. It's one mounting location, less conduit, less wire, and less maintenance on that. So moving forward into the next space is you're going to start seeing a little bit more of the system ideas. And this is encompassing the data center and the vehicle exhaust. So I don't want to get rid of data centers yet. But the concept is this, is we can help you on the front end with your systems as often as you need. And what that means is if you have a set of plans that has a gas detection layout, or maybe the engineer says, hey, work with a gas detection manufacturer, this is what we do. We will take your set of plans. We'll not only give you an idea and a concept behind the bill of materials, but we'll give you a schematic, say, hey, this is how we would do it as a manufacturer. Please have your engineer or your authority or AHJ sign off on this document just for approval, because we're not engineers, but we know our product line pretty well. So we'll give you a coverage area, bill of materials pretty quick. And what that turns into is what type of panels to pick. We're big on systems. Again, we're a gas detection manufacturer. We use our panels as auxiliary products, but there's really 4 options within the panels. And if you start from left to right, you have a total of 99 sensors at a minimum on each of these panels. The DVP-120M has 12 analog options with 87 addressable or digital options. And as you progress into that DVP-1200, you have up to 192 digital sensors that can be tied back to your panel. If you're on the fire side and you know a little bit about building automation or the HVAC world, you'll see this comment right here, BACnet MSTP or BACnet IP. Huge discrepancy between the two. If you have a protocol that's BACnet MSTP, you have to pretty much go MSTP unless you have a converter, which can be kind of costly. But we have panels for both options. If you're in California, both of the panels are Title 24 compliant. They have the settings in there, the testing features in there. You should be good to go. But again, you can always tie this back to a fire panel just as simply as well. And that's what we're seeing a lot these days. I would say upwards of 40 to 50% of the panels are going in tying to the fire alarm panel. And that's just for notification, that's for addressable relays, and your mechanical contractor comes in and ties into the fans. So that's how we're seeing this play out. We will help you lay out the panel or the system with the right panel choice that fits the controls, the sequence of operations, and so forth. Within the panels, you'll basically have a multitude of ideas, and this is the newest panel, so hence the blurry photo you see on the screen. The panel that's here is our flagship panel. It is basically, when in doubt, go with the DVP 1200. You're going to pretty much have every output you need, and you're also going to have an increased amount of zones. And what a zone is just matching your inputs with the detectors coming into your panel, so you can have a control sequence. So if you see these out in the field, it's a Macurco system. Again, you don't have to use control panels, but here's the concept. And I'll kind of fly through this side a little bit, but you have a panel on the field tied to a certain amount of sensors. And I'm going to go through this part semi-quick. Here are your runs of sensors. I do want to stress for any of those contractors out there that do a lot of addressable work, the one key figure here is there's no T-tapping. I stress that just based on the fact if you T-tap our systems, it totally disrupts the communication protocol, so you will have a trouble all the time. And what a T-tap is if you were to go from sensor to sensor to sensor to sensor that's ran in series, a T-tap is basically saying, okay, I'm going to send this sensor down to here, and I'm going to also send that sensor to here. You're doing two signals back to one unit. You can't do that. That's called T-tapping. Stay away from that. You'll have a headache. Typically when that happens, it's one of the worst tech calls our team can take because they have to tell you to rewire, reconduit, and reprogram. It's not fun for our tech guys or ourselves. So it's just not a very fun call to have. Just run in series. It's off to one to the next, to the next, to the next, and you can move forward from there. And the next part is the control sequence. You can tie any of these into any of these types of devices, or you can go back to a fire alarm panel just in the same. These pictures and photos can be transitioned anywhere. We still have to be compliant with ADA, and it's the reason why you see a sync module on the top. When you have three or two or more visual strobes within each other, you have to make sure they're synced. I'm sure many of you people know about that. But that's basically the system in a nutshell. And then what you can have is you can have your BACnet output, pretty straightforward as well. At the end of the day, this is also pre-project, as we can help you with risers. We can basically give you a footprint. We do a lot of this in the data center category as well as vehicle exhaust. Typically, when you're in a data center, you have a huge square foot coverage area, quite a few sensors because you're talking combustible gas. So you need to make sure they're about 900 square feet apart. So 30-foot centers is basically what you're looking at. And we'll do a riser. We'll give you an example of the riser based upon your system as well. Okay. Let's see here. So, James, do we have any questions yet?
No, sir.
Perfect. I'm cruising through this, by the way. So an hour might be a little long, but anyways. Okay, one thing I do want to stress is with the horn strobes, more and more gas detection is starting to be compliant to what's called the temporal 4. So if you have a temporal 3 signal, that's for smoke. A temporal 4 is for carbon monoxide. In the commercial space, they're starting to follow a little bit more of that as well. And they pertain to gas detection as a whole, not necessarily just CO. So if you're dealing with NO2 or you're dealing with combustible gas, the concept behind this is very straightforward, is they're looking for gas to be the temporal 4. And this is jurisdictional based. It's not necessarily a national thing. And neither is a color. So if you have questions on color, you have questions on, what I should be doing, we're not the right people to ask there, because from our understanding, there is no real code for gas detection notification devices. So pick your color as you wish. At this point, we've never had anybody other than don't make it the same as what the fire panel has. So pick a different color than that, and you should be pretty good to go. Over the next few slides, you're going to see a big difference between what is a calibration kit and a test gas, and the lingo between the two. So I'll come back to that here in a second. But on the bottom, you have duct mount kits, power supplies, weatherproof housing kits. Those are all just accessories. We're starting to see the WHK ones, so the weatherproof, go quite a bit into parking garages due to spray downs or wash downs and things of that nature. But the power supply, it's just, that's a piece of equipment just to power the sensors out in the field. The panel we offer doesn't have enough juice to power, 199 sensors. So using one of these is pretty critical. Okay, let's get into servicing systems then real quick. So this is the number one topic in all of our conversations with contractors. So what we did about 5 years ago was come out with a philosophy of education and certification. A lot of people were asking for it, so we try to fill a need. We do it for free, whether that's via webinar or in person. If the time's right and the travel schedule fits, we'll come out there and do it for your team. But the concept here is to get you a certificate for your team of commissioning, calibration, and configuration on our systems. A course can last anywhere from 2 hours to 8 hours. We've had classes of 5. We've had classes of 55. It really just depends on your nature, how often you run into these systems, what territory you're in, and so forth. But the idea is, when you do these courses, you have a certificate for the AHJ, the fire marshal, or the inspector saying, hey, we are Macurco certified to not only install, but to configure and to calibrate these systems. We still encourage you to use the benefit of our technical support team. That's super vital. And as well as our front end team, which we can help with those applications up front and go from there. But the concept here is to have not only just the right piece of equipment in the field with the right legislation or certifications, but now the authorized contractor there can do the same thing. This has been a big win for us, and I'll kind of show you how it looks as we keep moving forward. The biggest question when a new install happens is, do I need to calibrate it? The answer is, per our user manual, you do not have to calibrate it. However, we are not the AHJ, so we don't make that call at the time of install. So if you have a new gas detection system going in, and you can pick any type of application or any type of gas, if your AHJ or an inspector says we want to see it calibrated, there's a couple things you could do. You could show them in the manual saying, hey, these came factory calibrated. This is when it was manufactured. Typically, you're going to be within a 30-day window. We manufacture here at the office, and we're pretty quick about building to order type stuff. So there's a confidence there that it was recently calibrated. That usually will get your AHJ and inspector off your back. If it does not, and they say they want it calibrated, that is what is down here. That calibration kit is totally different than just a simple test. It is more common to have an AHJ and inspector ask you to test these devices than it is calibrate at the time of install. And so a calibration is basically marrying the sensor and the circuit board together to read a very similar number. It's plus or minus 5% from a variance. But at the end of the day, we want that sensor to be reading 5 ppm of NR2, and the circuit board's saying, okay, well, that is 5 to me as well. And that's what it's interpreting to the panel or to whatever system it's tied to. A test is different. So a test is applying whatever concentration of gas to the detector to make it function. Meaning, if you're tied into a fan for ventilation purposes, or you're tied into the fire alarm for evacuation purposes, we can technically get those relays to trigger via test gas. And that test gas is, again, just applying gas to the detector, make it trigger its relays, and you move on. But a calibration is matching that sensor and that circuit board into one. And plus a calibration kit, it is pretty much a full part. It's got tubing, a regulator, a cowl hood, and then also span gas to go with it. So the concept behind it is a lot more intrusive. It's about 1.5 to 2 minutes when you calibrate a detector compared to 15 seconds to test. Keep going on the same topic. In our manual, it shows the exact process of calibration. This is basically cut and pasted out of the manual. what I want to show you here is how simple it actually is. So what we've done is if you eliminate 1, 2, 3, and 4 off of this, it's basically just saying, hey, here's how you prep your detector, take the screw out, take the hood off, etc. Number 5, 6, 7, and 8 is really the process. 5 is where you start to get to the cal menu. You go into the calibration mode, and this is important to know because if you've done this or you've never done this, it can be kind of daunting. You look at all these words and all these steps. Really, the steps is 5, 6, 7, and 8. And the cool thing is, once you get to step 7, the detector is going to tell you whether you passed or failed during your calibration. So really, steps 5 and 6 are all you have to do. So when you're in front of an inspector and you're calibrating, it's broken down step by step so that it's kind of bulletproof. In the event that your calibration fails, there could be a couple different things happening, whether maybe the calibration hood was not put on properly, maybe your gas is empty, or maybe something's wrong with the detector. What you do is call our tech support, try it again, do your calibration. If it happens, call our tech support. The number's right there. They'll walk you through it and go from there. Now, here's where it really gets kind of crazy for us is in about the last 4 years, the recurring revenue for contractors in this case has been insane. We educate to help you guys get that. We don't do any of this ourselves. We actually pass those leads to the territory service providers. So if you're in St. Louis or you're in Dallas, Texas, and you're able to calibrate and certify the Macurco system, that lead's going directly to your house. We want to make sure that every region has somebody. I can tell you they fade in and fade out quite often. Some love it, some get frustrated with it. But if you get good at this, your margin, the amount of time spent for how much money is involved with this is very limited. You get an on-site fee and you can charge per head, which we've heard anywhere from $35 to $75 per sensor for a calibration. So the big deal there, and plus you'll get the replacement sensors and you'll get the call the next time something like this happens. So all of this equipment will fail at some point. It has an end of life to it, just like a battery does. So that's just easy on our business as well. As we move forward, I've probably got about 10 minutes left, James. So, I mean, I am cruising through this. The idea and the concept behind education starts with our website and on the collateral offered. But we have also come out with a YouTube channel. And what's pictured here is very simple. We do common applications. We just launched an entire line of refrigerant monitors for the new A2L standards. So for those that are familiar with refrigerants and dealing with refrigerants, we are extremely excited about the launch, which would have been last June, of our Air Shield. It's proven to be a very good product. We also follow suit with another refrigerant monitor called a VRF monitor, typically found in like a hotel VRF type system. You'll see a lot more of that on the HVAC or the building automation side. But then it also goes into our configuration of our panels, sensor replacements, and calibration. So our YouTube channel is really handy, especially if you're more of a visual and you want to see it in action. But they're little 2, 3, 4 minute videos at most, showing you the whole breakdown of everything, and you move forward from there. One of the largest resources that we do offer is our engineering page. We are all about training contractors and engineers. We stress that. That's how we go to market. We have a lot of written specifications surrounding all of these different types of products and applications. We typically will follow the most common and general standpoint. And what that means is for vehicle exhaust, we'll take the general consensus of alarm values or alarm points, and that's when our triggers go off. But you can find DWG or CAD files, PDFs, whether it's just the product, drawings, riser diagrams, all of that's found on our engineering page. And one of our big, let's call it monumental aspects to Macurco is our tech support team. For years, they've just challenged themselves to be top of the line, and they've reached that and they've maintained that. And so if you've had a chance to talk to our technical support team, they're phenomenal. But I really urge you, if you're new to Macurco or if you're installing Macurco with a couple questions, give them a shout. They're excellent.
For more information about Potter products, please visit our website at pottersignal.com. To access additional training resources, check out our online training portal at academy.pottersignal.com. Stay connected with us on social media for the latest updates and news.